160 students record the amount of time, T hours, they each spending playing computer games in a week. This information is shown in the cumulative frequency diagram. A. Use the diagram to find an estimate of 1. The median. The median is the middle. So we have a total of 160. So the middle will be at 160 divided by 2. So that's the 80th kid on the diagram. So we go to 80 on the cumulative frequency. It touches the graph here, corresponding to a time of 5 hours. So the median is 5 hours. 2. The interquartile range. The interquartile range is the difference between the 75th percentile minus the 25th percentile. The 75 of 160, we're trying to find 75% of the total of 160 students. That will give 120. So the 75th percentile is at 120, so we go to 120 on the cumulative frequency. It corresponds to the time of 6 hours. The 25th percentile, or 25 of 160 students, equals 40. So we go to 40 on the cumulative frequency. And that corresponds to a time of 3.4 hours. So the interquartile range would be the difference between these two values, and the interquartile range would be 6 minus 3.4, which will equal 2.6 hours. B. Use the diagram to complete this frequency table. So if you look at each section, the first column represents the students who spend 0 to 2 hours to play computer games. The second column corresponds to students who use 2 to 4 hours to play computer games. So 4, if we look at 4 hours on the cumulative diagram, 4 hours corresponds to 46. And if we look at 2 hours on the cumulative frequency, 2 hours corresponds to 20. So the region from the time 2 to 4 is represented by this region over here. So therefore, the difference between 46 and 20 is the amount of students who spend 2 to 4 hours playing computer games. The next column we want to find is for 4 to 6. So if we look at 6 hours on the cumulative diagram, it corresponds to 120. So from 4 to 6, it corresponds to this area on the cumulative frequency between 46 and 120. Therefore, the number of students using 4 to 6 hours to play computer games per week will be the difference between 120 and 46. So that's 120 minus 46, which equals 74. So there are 74 students spending 4 to 6 hours playing computer games per week. Okay, and we can always check this. So this table gives the frequency, and we know for a fact that it comes from a total of 160 students. So the total of all these frequencies should equal 160. So if we add them all up, we can check whether it equals 160. And indeed it does, so therefore this answer is probably correct.